Hello, welcome to the Minnesota Black and African Author Festival by herARTS in Action. My name is Tariah Johnson.
And my name is Kalia. The inspiration of the festival was to help students of Black and African heritage increase reading skills and comprehension through books with diverse representation.
But this is for everyone because we all benefit by learning more.
Today our author is Sheletta Brundidge, and they will be reading their book Karma Goes to School. Enjoy and please stick around for an activity and author question and answer session.
I'm gonna read a book today, Cameron Goes to School by Sheletta Brundidge and Lily Coyle. Pictures by Darcy Bell Myers. Everybody says I'm going to school someday, and I don't know what to think about that. It's a big change, especially when you have autism like I do. So I just don't say a thing. Now they say I'm going to school in 1 year. Mom is already sad. Cameron, when you're there making new friends, who will play Candyland with me over and over again and again and again? I don't say anything. I just study my ABCs. Now they say I'm going to school next fall. Dad is pretty broken up about that. Cameron, when you're taking that big yellow bus back and forth, who will I drive to all the play dates, lessons, and appointments? I don't say a thing. I just work on my numbers. Now they say I'm going to school at the end of the summer. Grandma Cynthia is getting nervous. Cameron, when you're learning how to spell, add, and read, who's going to decide what TV shows I have to watch? I don't say a thing. I just practice my cutting and pasting. Now they say I'm going to school in a month. Big budget Andrew is all put out. Cameron, when you're taking out field trips, who's going to sneak into my room and mess with my stuff?
Come in my room, you can take it.
I don't say a thing. I just memorize all the months of the year. Now they say I'm going to school in 3 weeks. Little brother Daniel is very concerned. Cameron, when you're listening to teacher, who's going to be sitting on mom's lap right when I want to be sitting on mom's lap? I don't say a thing. I just put my new school supplies in my backpack.
That's you, Mr. Phil. Nobody knows. Mr. Phil's part.
Now they say I'm going to school. Now they say I'm going to school in 10 days. Mr. Phil, our neighbor, is so worried. Cameron, when you're playing games on that big school playground, who's going to leave toys all over my yard and pick my flowers? I don't say a thing. I just work on tying my new shoes. Now they say I'm going to school next Tuesday. Chelsea, my therapist, is brokenhearted. Cameron, when you're singing songs with your classmates, who's going to sort through all these flashcards with me? I don't say a thing and just pick out my first day outfit. Now they say I'm going to school today, and everybody is pretty worked up about that. It's a big change for them, but I think they'll be okay. So I just said goodbye.
Good job, Cameron. Let's go give Cameron a big hug, everybody.
The end.
Come on, Papa B. Come on, Brandon. Good job.
Everyone else.
Well, they have to stay back. They're going to wave at her.
Give her some lipstick.
It's okay. It's okay. Come on. It's all right, buddy. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Come over here. Come over here.
Did we do a good job?
You did a good job. Okay, let's tell everybody.
Good job.
Good job. Come over here by mommy, Brandon. Over here by me. Okay. All right. Come on over to the side. Okay. Come on over to the side. You want to take them in the house, Andrew? Go ahead and take them in the house. Go ahead and take them in the house.
Mom, I called you so I can look at those cute donkeys.
We can in just a minute. We are the Brundidge family in Cottage Grove, Minnesota. 3 of our 4 children have been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. So we wrote Cameron Goes to School to empower kids who have autism, to offer hope to parents that your children can get better, and to educate the classmates of children who have autism. And so we just want to make sure that everyone knows that it is Autism Awareness Month. It's a time that we work as hard as we can to let everybody know that autism is not a death sentence for your child. They can grow, they can learn. You're looking at Cameron is an absolute miracle. She was diagnosed at 2 years old as having autism. The experts said that she would never be able to learn or read, and she would always be in special education. As of this year, Cameron has pretty much tested off the autism spectrum. She's no longer getting special education services. As well, Cameron is testing above average in all of her classes, and before she left kindergarten, she was Kindergarten Student of the Month. So with early intervention and testing, there is hope out there for your special needs child, and we just want to offer that to you and your family to let you all know to keep fighting, to keep up the good work. You're not in it alone. We're here for you, and Autism Awareness Month is our time to tell you that we love you and you can make it. Cameron Goes to School. Hold your book up, Pumpkin. Oh, you're doing such a great job. Hold your book up so everybody can see the cover. Let them see the cover. The front part. Yeah. It is available everywhere you buy your books. Amazon.com, Target.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Buy it for yourself, your family, your school or church library, or a friend or family member who has a child diagnosed with autism. It will bless their lives. Thank you so much for your support. Happy Easter. God bless you, and we love you. Bye.
Kiss the
Kiss the camera. Kiss the Hold the book up so they can see it. There you go. All right.
Wait.
Thank you all for
Wait,
joining
wait,
us.
wait, wait.
Thank you all for joining us.
Wait, we have to see the cute puppy though.
Well, you have to wait. We're gonna see the cute puppies. And thank you all for our neighbors and our Senator Carla Bingham over there. She came to visit. Can you show Carla? Hey girl. Hey girl.
Now's the time to see the puppies.
She's saying great job. Say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Even though you're at home, give a clap to Sheletta Brundidge for the work they put into Cameron Goes to School.
Now we will do an activity inspired by the book. Art and writing projects are a great follow-up to reading to help increase comprehension and retention.
Kids, make sure you have your parent, guardian, teacher, or nearest adult for permission to use supplies and workspace.
And Carmen goes to school. People face their fears. In today's activity, the student uses acrylic paint and creates the Grand Canyon. It symbolizes her fear of heights. And at the very end, she decided to put a bridge in place. A connection, getting through to the other side safely and overcoming your fear. We want you to create with paint or whatever material you're comfortable using something about getting over a fear.
Show us what you made.
Picture or video of your work and tag us across all social media platforms at herARTS in Action.
After reading the book, I bet you have some questions. Let's see what author Sheletta Brundidge has to say when they chat with herARTS in Action founder Sarah Drake.
You can also post questions for the author.
So thank you, Sheletta Brundidge, for being with us. We just listened to a book that was read that you and your daughter had a part in. But before we get into that, I just want to know, tell us a little bit about you, where you grew up, your career, your hobbies, like who are you?
Well, certainly. Thank you so much again for having me. I'm always honored and humbled when anybody asks me to share my story and my life with them. And I don't take that invitation lightly. So my name is Sheletta Brundidge. My family and I live in Cottage Grove. I am the mother of 4 amazing children. Andrew is 15, Brandon is 9, Cameron, my only daughter, is 8, and my youngest son, Daniel, is 6. And my youngest 3 children, Brandon, Cameron, and Daniel, have all been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorders. And I remember when I got the diagnosis 3 years in a row for 3 different children. I was ready to give up. I thought about suicide. I thought about just drinking myself to death. I thought about not eating and starving myself to death. And then I was under the table in the kitchen one day, looking at my 3 autistic children, unable to feed themselves, unable to talk, unable to go to the restroom by themselves, needing me to do everything from putting on a Band-Aid to figuring out what itched and what hurt. Spoon feeding them, pureeing their food with no mama, no aunties, no cousins, no nieces, no nephews to come and help. I thought, this is it. I'm just going to check out of here. And I heard God's voice say, this is not a punishment. I've given you a special position to be these children's mother. Now get up and mother them. So I got my butt up, girl, and I started looking around for therapy centers, and I started partnering with the teachers, and I started eating and drinking, and gained all the weight back, and then also got the help that my children needed. And it was like magic. And I know it wasn't magic because it took a lot of work. But one day I looked up and my daughter Cameron, who was once nonverbal, was talking and testing out of all her therapy. I looked around and my son Brandon, who could sit in the classroom for 8 hours and just open and close plastic Easter eggs and not even know that somebody else was in the room with him, was now needing those special services as well. And my son Daniel, who didn't talk for the first 4.5 years of his life, is now at 6 years old reading on a 4th grade level. And I thought, why I'm, celebrating my own victories with my own children, let me look back. Let me reach behind me and grab up all the autism parents who are still in the struggle. And so my husband and I started doing workshops and, at churches and community centers and schools, free for parents who have kids with special needs. We went to the legislature to get funding for officers so they could have autism training. So if they encountered a child who had special needs and couldn't talk, they wouldn't shoot them because they didn't understand stop or I'll shoot, right? So not just helping the parents, but creating policy change. And so my family, because of our position in the community, have become advocates for families who have special needs children like us. And so we live and we eat, sleep, and breathe helping. Just recently, a 2-year-old child who had autism wandered away from her mom, little Aklas. And, I rushed to the scene to pray with and for her family. So that they would know that this is not their fault. The doctors, they give you the keys to the 18-wheeler, right? They say your child has autism, have a nice day. But there's nobody there to tell you about the locks and about the water and about the wandering and the need to make sure that the gates are closed and you've got a deadbolt. There's nobody to tell you about the scholarships that'll pay for the alternative therapies that you need. There's nobody there to tell you, that you can find a grant to get that medication that you want that the insurance won't cover. And so that's where I come in. That's where my husband comes in. That's where our family comes in. We stand in the gap for people so that they don't have to learn the hard lessons the hard way that we did. We'll give it to them for free, and then they can go out and, help their children to live their best lives.
That's such amazing and important work, and to go from where you were and how you were feeling to, as you said, standing in the gap and filling in for folks is amazing. So thank you for doing that.
I'm so sorry. You can give me that question again. I apologize.
Oh, no, it wasn't a question. I was just thanking you for all of your work.
Yeah. It's just part of what we do. It's part of who we are and how we operate. We wish that somebody would have been there to do it for us. But now that we have an opportunity, we can pass this knowledge on to other people. It's all about access and information, right? If you don't have the information, you don't even know who to access. Right. And then if you get the information, where do you go with it? If I sit here and tell you there's scholarships available for you to pay for that, device that you need, or to get the school supplies since you want to do therapy in the home, but if I don't tell you where to get it, how do you know? How do you know? And so I spent years, literally, up at 2 a.m. on Google, searching, looking. And I quit my job and went underground for 2 years. People didn't even know that we have moved back to Minnesota, researching therapy centers and the best schools, and where we need to get services, and where the money is, where the best doctors are, where the best care is, where the best parent groups are. And now I got all that. What I'm gonna do? Hold it, bless my kids, flaunt it in everybody's face how great my kids are doing while parents are still in the struggle? Or am I going to get back into the struggle with them and pull everybody up? And that's what we do. We just pulling everybody up.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so from these experiences you've had, you now are an author and have a couple books. So tell us, how many books have you written and what are they about?
So the first book that I wrote is called Cameron Goes to School. It's the story of my daughter's journey as a little Black nonverbal girl heading off to kindergarten for the very first time. When my daughter went to school, she went straight to the library. So she could find a book about a little girl with autism who looked like her, and she didn't find one. Right. And she came home crying. And I was like, well, I'm going down to that school and I'm going to find, I'm talking to the librarian to know why they don't have any books about Black girls in the library. They need to order them. And the librarian basically sat me down and said, listen, it would be easier for you to find a book about a little red dog or a purple dinosaur or a truck before you can find a book about a little Black girl with autism. There are none. And I thought, well, you know what? I can just spit and cuss and fuss, or I could just write it. And I'd never written a book before. It was not on my bingo card. I didn't know anything about publishing. I didn't know anything about printers. I didn't know anything about marketing, distribution, or Amazon. I didn't know any of this stuff, right? But I figured it out. I learned on the fly. I knew my child had a story to tell that would resonate with other parents, whether they were African American or not. And then I also looked around and saw that while everybody's writing books about autism for grown-ups so that we can know the signs, so that we can know what to do if we see the signs, so that we can navigate through the system, nobody was educating children. And so my daughter's classmates like would never invite her to like group parties or, this was before COVID, swim,
Right.
little swim parties, sleepovers, stuff like that. And so when I talked to one of the other moms, she said, well, our kids think that your daughter is not nice because whenever they try to talk to her, she doesn't say anything. Well, she can't say anything because she has autism.
Right.
And so for so many years, we parents have taught our kids to look away. Don't say anything. That child is special. We don't want to talk about it. Don't ask any questions. Well, you have to let these kids ask questions so they can know how to help their special needs friends. And so once I educated Cameron's friends in her classroom with this book, with her story and her journey and autism, they rallied around her. They became her helper friends. And this girl went from being nonverbal in kindergarten to being kindergarten student of the month by the end of the year for the entire district. She is now
not just the school, the district.
Not just the school, district wide. She is now in 3rd grade. She gets no special services. She has tested off the autism spectrum. I did not even know that was possible. She no longer qualifies for speech, occupational, physical, any of that, behavioral therapy, nothing. She no longer has an IEP at the school, right? So who would have ever thought that that was possible? I know that I didn't, but with all the therapies that we were paying for and everything that we were doing, it was the education of her classmates that made a difference. And so last 2 years ago, my youngest son, Daniel, he was 4.5 years old at the time. He had not said a word, not one. This boy broke his arm because he fell off a dresser and couldn't tell me where it hurt. He was running around the sofa and hit his foot and couldn't tell me that his toe hurt. Like literally, I used to have to squeeze him to figure out what was wrong. We take fever and temperature checks all the time, long before COVID, because we never knew why he was crying. We just have to guess if he was hungry, guess if he wanted a snack, guess if he wanted a drink. And so I was in the kitchen washing dishes, and he came up to me and he started singing Old Town Road. Now, this boy had been in therapy for 2 years, and the therapist said, listen, we have tried for 2 years to help your child. Nothing is working. We know this therapy works because it worked with your other 2 children who were autistic. So we are going to discontinue his therapy if we don't see progress. And I remember getting on my knees and praying and asking God to send me a miracle, because I did not want them to discontinue this unique behavior therapy that we were getting through the Lovas Institute. And when he came up to me singing that song, this was not anything anybody taught him. We did not have drills on this. We had spent 6 months trying to teach him how to say and spell his name. But here he naturally learned how to sing a whole song. Are you kidding me? And that's when I realized music. It was music. And we had never tried music. We didn't even have a device to play music on, because we spent all day in therapy, all day at school. I'm working. I'm trying to take care of my husband. My father-in-law is living here with us. Everybody got no time to dance and sing. But Lil Nas X was hot that year. So we would just put it on YouTube, and the kids loved watching, with the horse, and, they were dancing, and they had a little rodeo, they were playing bingo in the video. So it was cool. Well, just by listening to that music, without being taught, he picked it up. So I immediately called all the therapists, and I was like, look, from now on, we're using music for everything. For everything that we do, we're using music. And so they downloaded Old Town Road and every country song they could find on their devices. And now, 2 years later, Daniel is reading on a 4th grade level. And so I decided I'm going to write another book about Daniel's journey, so that parents who have special needs kids can know that sometimes it can be something like music or art or basketball or whatever. Try anything, try everything, because you never know what's going to make the difference. Because music was it for him. If you want to teach this boy anything, you put it in a song and he is going to learn it. The other kids, they're like, do we have to do it? He's singing again. I know, baby, he's going to be singing. We're going to all be singing. If he's talking, we talking through song. And so I wrote that book, and Daniel finds his voice, all about him learning to talk through music. And it resonated with so many parents. It came out this year in April, Awareness Month. It was out April 2nd. April 9th, it had sold out. There were no more copies.
Wow.
It was featured on CBS this morning with Gail King. And she was like, "Go, Daniel. I love this book." And Amazon called the warehouse and was like, "How many copies you got?" 8,000. Good. We'll take all of them. And
Wow.
so his book has already been reprinted 3 times, and it hasn't been out a year. It hadn't even been out 6 months. It came out in April.
Right.
So, people have just resonated with his story, his journey, and they see that struggle in their own kids or in kids that they know. Because what is it? 1 in 52 kids have autism. So you know somebody,
Mhm.
or you are raising somebody who has autism. And so it just puts a face on it. And again, providing some diverse reading options for parents so that we change the narrative. Because anytime you start talking about autism, they always put a picture of a little white boy, right? And so little white boys in school, they get the grace of saying, maybe he has special needs. But when a
Right.
black boy starts having issues in school, it's a discipline problem. And
Right.
nobody looks at it as autism. And so I want to change the face of who looks like they have autism and who we think might have autism. Because just like my daughter Cameron, that was not their first initial thought. Teachers and students in her classroom thought, well, she's just a little black girl with a bad attitude. Never thought that she had special needs and social anxiety.
So we, our viewers got to listen to Carmen read her own book um, before listening to us chat here. And so, like, they've listened to the book, but now, you know, tell us something about, Carmen Goes to School. Was there, aside from her, not seeing herself represented in a book, but was there something, specific from your life experiences, her experiences, that you were like, this just has to be included in the book?
Her bravery, when it got time for her to go to school, the whole house was nuts. My husband was nervous. I was nervous. Her brothers, who are very protective, were all going bananas. Everybody was just like, her therapists were afraid. I mean, but she was so brave. And even though she never talked, she just kept on getting ready for school. She lined up her clothes, she got her backpack ready, she, fixed her lunch, she did her hair, she, made sure her shoes were all nice and shiny, and, she wanted to wear a bow and put on lip gloss. So, while we were all going bananas, she was bravely, knowing the obstacles that she had to face, heading off to class. And I wanted to make sure her bravery was shown in this book. And even on the
Yeah.
cover, it's me hiding behind a bookcase, my husband hiding behind a plant, her brother's peeking through the window, and she's in class with her hands up, just doing her
Mhm.
thing. Little black girl magic sprinkling all over the classroom. And so I wanted to show that bravery. I didn't want her to be the one that was afraid, because she wasn't. It was us.
Mhm.
And, I've heard from so many teachers this year, as well as last year, who are using Cameron's story of coming back into the classroom and how she did it bravely to welcome students back into these classrooms after COVID-19.
Mhm.
They read her story about how brave she was and how she did it afraid, and how, she was courageous. And they share Cameron's journey with those students in elementary school, special needs and otherwise, who are coming back to school. And, I've heard from teachers who say they have to read it every morning to their students, and they look forward to it because they really identify with Cameron, and she's doing something she's never done before. She's doing it afraid, and they're doing something that they've never done. They're going to school with masks on. They've got partitions up. They can't be close to their friends. They have to eat separate. The teachers can't touch them. They don't have the interaction. They're going back to school, but it's not the school they remember, right? I mean, from the bus ride to the lunchrooms. And so Cameron's story is helping them adjust.
Yeah. How about you? What kind of impact did writing both of these books have on you as a mom, as a Black woman in America? Like, what did that do for you?
It gave me a voice. It gave me an opportunity to speak to people about our story, about our journey, about our family. And it gave me an opportunity to put diverse reading options in schools, libraries, and homes across the country. And that means something. The photo of my family, these children will identify with. And some of these children don't have any Black classmates. They don't have any Black neighbors. They don't have any Black friends. And so Cameron is their Black friend, and our family is their Black neighbor. And they see us and we are happy and we are intact and we are whole and we are doing things together, like riding in an RV or getting ready for school or playing outside. And they can identify with us and they can think, okay, well, they're just like us. They're doing the things that we do. And so I'm making an impact on the next generation of allies. One thing that I do is I take copies of my books and I go out to George Floyd Square. And there's so many white moms who are bringing their biracial children or their white children out to the square. And they don't really know what to do, right? Or they just know that they need to be there. And so what I do is I hand out my books for free to these parents and say, take this to your house so you can have some diverse reading options for your child. Because you're heading in the right direction. You want them to be an ally. You want them to change in a positive way, right? And so use this book as a start. And so I don't want the kids who come to George Floyd Square to just leave with that heaviness on their heart, because you can see that the parents have talked to them. They've prepared them. They've talked about the story of this man who did not deserve to die the way that he did. And they're coming out there with just this weight on them. And these are kids, but they have to know the story, right? Because we don't want history repeating itself, because these are our future judges and police officers. These are our future teachers and legislators. So if they are living with this experience, they need to understand what they're living with and how that impacts their friends who don't look like them. And so I started giving this book out, and these kids, their weight just was lifted, because they got something to take home and they're reading it in the car. And they're sharing it with their classmates. They're sharing it with the family members who come to visit. They're sharing it with their grandparents, right? And their neighbors. And saying, we went to the square and we came home with a book. And it just puts a different perspective and spin on it. And I just appreciate the fact that I have something to offer the world. And it's something that involves my family. And that means a lot to me.
It's a wonderful thing to do. So, as you know, the focus for this author series is to help young Black and African students increase their interest in reading and improve comprehension through representation. And so I want to ask you a couple questions about your younger self, when you would have been your kids' age. And so thinking back to then, what advice would you give a new reader or someone who doesn't like to read?
I did not like to read. I was that young reader who did not like to read. Back when we would go to the library and we were given books and assigned books to read, I would try to just read the blurb, like the front little cover of the book, and try to write a little something on it and get out of reading that whole book, especially when we got to chapter books. I did not like it at all. So I identified with young readers, young, learners who don't enjoy reading. But there's a whole world out there full of excitement, and we can't get to it because of COVID. But you can find it in a book. You can find adventure in a book. Whatever you want, whatever you think you're missing because of this pandemic that you can't get to, you can find it in a book and escape to places that you never thought and never dreamed that you could get to. And reading is also inspiring. When you read about amazing people in these books like Oprah Winfrey and John Lewis and so many other great African and African American people, it will inspire you to do and be better at everything. And you may figure out what you want to do in life. You can be 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years old and figure out what you want to do. My daughter Cameron already knows at 8 years old she wants to be a teacher. My son Brandon at 9 years old already knows that he wants to work for the post office. Why? Because they read a story in a book and they said, I want to do that. We go on vacation, we've got an RV, we take out in our RV and we go to different destinations. Where do we go? Someplace that they've read about in a book. There's so much to explore by reading. And with us being shut out and cut out from the world, it's so important that we pick up a book, whether it is a physical book or we read a book online or we listen to a book. You can also listen to books and read along. It can take you to some amazing places.
And since you didn't like to read, the next question is, if you could tell your younger self anything about reading, what would it be? Would it be to get into reading? Or if, since you didn't like to read, like what's something that somebody could have done differently to make it
Somebody
so
could have
to
given
read?
me some better books. And that's the thing we have to be sometimes, especially as little Black girls, we have to be advocates for ourselves. And if we go to the library, and still sadly, there are a lot of libraries that don't have books in them that look like us. If we go to the library and we can't find a book about a little girl that looks like us, we need to go and talk to our librarian and help them find the books that we'd be interested in. And I wish somebody would have told me that, because I thought the only options that I had were the books in the library. And I remember picking up a book called B is for Betsy. And Betsy didn't look like anybody in my house. Betsy didn't look like anybody on my street. Betsy didn't look like anybody that I knew. And I thought, well, why am I reading this? This doesn't apply to me. This is not going to help me. I'm never going to be B is for Betsy. But I didn't know that I could go to my librarian and ask for books about Rosa Parks or Harriet Tubman or Ida B. Wells or Katherine Johnson or Mae Jameson. I might have been an astronaut or a scientist, but I didn't know those things were available to me. So I would tell anybody who doesn't like to read, like me, if you don't see something that you like, go and be an advocate, talk to the librarian, and get a book that you'd be interested in. Have them order it especially for you.
Great advice. Was there an early experience where you learned that language or reading was powerful?
I did. I know I'm a person who loves to speak, and so I understand how important language is. And so I was the kid in elementary school who always got to do the announcements, and I always got to be on the program and introduce a guest speaker at an assembly, or and so I understood that spoken language and soon written language was very important. People will judge you and judge how smart you are based on your language, based on how you speak, based on how you write, and based on how you interpret language. And so it's so important that we put language up there as, important as math. People may not know that you know how to count. People may not know that you can't multiply, but as soon as you open your mouth, they're going to know exactly how smart you are based on your language. And reading books gives us so much advanced language. There's always a word or two in a book that you don't know that you have to go look up. And now you've got a new word that you can use on your friends and you can be smarter than them. There's always facts and information in books. Again, the one thing that we love to do is take trips in our RV and we find new places in books. Whether it's a book about Minnesota history, we just left Paul Bunyan and Babe the Big Blue Ox in Bemidji because we were reading a book on Minnesota history and the kids wanted to see it. They wanted to see what they had been reading about in their history books. And so, language and the written word and the spoken word really tell the world exactly how smart, how bright, how intelligent, and how special you are. So you got to pick up that book so you can learn as many words as you can.
Awesome. And What's next for you in your writing? Are there more books waiting to be birthed, or are these two, you're done?
Well, when you have more than one kid, you can't do something for one kid, and I'll do it for the other kids. So Cameron got her book first because ladies are first, of course, and then my three other children are all boys. And so, since Daniel's the youngest and his story was so incredible about learning how to speak through music, we did his story this year. And Brandon, my 9-year-old, who has autism as well, he will be having the next book, and it'll be all about crafting because his love language is drawing. So, before he could talk, he would draw, and we're thinking about having his book release at a big art party where we invite people and they get to draw and color, and maybe he can teach them, something fun to draw for kids and adults too. So it'll be all about Brandon learning how to speak through crafting. And then my oldest son, Andrew, who's 15, he does not have autism, but he is an advocate for not only his siblings, but kids with special needs. So we're going to do a book called Andrew the Advocate. And it's going to be all about big brothers and sisters and little brothers and sisters who are forced into, this work of advocacy to help the children who can't speak up for themselves. And then I'm done after that. Then I'm done.
Well, that's what you think. Who
Right,
knows?
right. I thought it was just going to be one book.
Right? You just told kids the opportunities that await them in a book. Now that you've written, and you get the fourth one done, who knows what opportunities await you beyond that?
Who knows? My dream, I haven't told this to anybody, so this is a secret, don't tell. But my dream is to get a cartoon series based on the kids. Since we've already got, the graphics, and we've already got everything all done, it would just be so easy to translate that into a series for kids who have special needs, because there's nothing now, no cartoons for, by, and about kids with autism. So,
I have to do a little plug. Austin Basis is an actor and who had with diabetes, and he and some friends did a 4 book comic book series, and I believe one of the characters has autism. Do you know about that?
No, you
I
have
will
to
send
send
you
me
the
that. Oh, I would
information.
love
Yeah.
to hear my kids
Yes,
with them.
it's wonderful. So I will definitely share that. Well, those are, the main questions I want to ask. Is there anything that you want to leave our young viewers with before we sign off today?
You are special and you matter. And that's why I'm here. I'm here because each and every single one of you has greatness inside of you. And I know it's been hard this year. You got to put masks on to go to school. It was a while before you could visit your grandparents. Maybe your parents lost a job. Maybe you lost a parent because of the COVID crisis and the pandemic. Maybe you had to move because your mom or dad lost their job and you've been feeling really down and out. It's been hard. And you feel like it's been especially hard for you, and it may have. But I want to let you know that I'm here. Your teachers are here. Your counselors are here. Your parents are here because you are special and you matter. And you are so important to this world. So don't give up. Keep trying. Keep plugging along. Keep doing everything that you can to make it through this difficult and dark time. Because guess what? When things get better, the world needs you. I need you. I'm getting old. I ain't going to be here that much longer. So I'm going to need all of you to pick up a pen and a piece of paper and tell your story. Because this is the thing. Everybody's got a story to tell. I just told mine. I'm not special. I'm not as special as you. You've got an amazing and unique, each and every one of you. Each and every one of you has a special story to tell. And I want you to think about that story. I want you to think about what makes you special. I want you to think about something that you did, or something that you love, or something that you know about that you want to tell the world about, that's going to change things. And I want you to write that down and start working on your story because you are special and you are mattered. And that's why I showed up today, just so I could tell you how much I love you and how I can't wait to see the amazing adult that you're going to become one day because you're already amazing because you got greatness inside of you.
That was a great way to sign off, way to motivate all of us. Thank you again so much to you and your family, especially Carmen and Daniel, whose stories were shared. And keep up the great work. And thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me. Love all you kids. And thank you so much for being here with me today. They thought I was here with you, but you being here with me has just touched my heart. And I love each and every one of you.
Thank you to author Sheletta Brundidge for answering our questions about their writing and book, Carmen Goes to School.
We hope you are inspired as we are. This is an activity made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Central Minnesota Arts Board. Thanks to the legislative appropriation from the Arts and Culture Heritage Fund. Thank you.
The Minnesota Black and African Author Festival is also possible because of herARTS in Action and the generous sponsors. Thank you to the African American Employees Research Group at Central Care, HireWorks Collaborative with the Bush Foundation, Apiary Co-working, Voices Black Business Resource Group at Capital One, and Branding Up International. Help the authors make sure their books are in as many libraries as possible. If you don't see their books in your local library, please request it.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember to keep reading.